Hi there, this is Hasia, and this is my first video where I will be showing the behind the edits for the photos you see. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and then I had a few requests on Twitter to ask about how I came with this photo. I shared the original, which is right here, and my post edits, and I had a few requests to see how this was done, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and so I'm going to get this started. Now this photo was also taken with the RF 100 to 500 zoom lens, and we can see this was actually how far back I was standing when I took this photo. And that lens really comes in handy, but this one right here is actually the uncropped photo, and we can see in the finish actually how I did the final cropped. I came in and just gave a little more focus on the pier. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to start with a crop. So I'm going to bring up my crop tool, and for this one I do want to go for the 16:9 ratio. I heard someone once say it gives it a more cinematic feel, which I do like, and I do want the more landscape feel with the longer side for the landscape. And let's bring that in just a little bit. Could probably drop it a little. What I did in the first one is I got this line to line up with the pier. And I took a little off the top so we don't have so much sky, a little off the bottom so not so much lake, so it just really kind of highlights our water, the pier, the mountains, and some sky. And there we go. We did the first step. Is the crop. Next, I'm going to go over here in the tools. I always like to add a little contrast. The brightness seems fine right now. Don't think I need to mess with the shadows or the whites at the moment. I'm going to give a little more blacks. I always like to give blacks. And when you're going down with these tools, these are just general edits because you're going to come back, because as you edit more things down the road, you're going to come back and readjust these again. Let's see the clarity. Let's see. Let's go -30 on the clarity. What that does, it's hard to explain what clarity does. I'm sure there are tutorials out there that explains it really well what clarity does, but it kind of like sharpens and contrasts the image. So when you give it less, it kind of unsharpens and uncontrasts the image. I'm going to add a little dehaze. There we go, got 30 on the dehaze. I like how that's coming out. The colors are coming out well. I'm going to skip vibrance and saturation. I'm going to go down about 40 on the luminosity and about 60 on the sharpening. That's kind of like a default I kind of do on most photos that don't involve humans. I'm going to check the profile corrections, see if I like that. I'm going to leave those off. And then down here, when I want to adjust colors, I've been finding this for a while that I've been enjoying going to the calibrations. So I'm going to add some blue. Yeah, let's do that. It may be a little too blue at the moment, but there's a way to counter that. Let's see. A little green. Don't think we need a little green. Let's try a little extra red. What this calibration page does, I think the best way to describe it, it's adding color to the true values of the blues, reds, and greens in the photo itself. Where saturation just kind of increases the overall color value, calibration will actually find the blue hues and actually kind of like brighten them. So we do have this photo as a little bit too blue. So now I'm going to go back up to the individual saturation window, and I'm going to pull back those blues just a bit. So now we have what I usually call the basics. So I got a nice photo right here, and it looks great and all, but I always like to make my photos have a little more magic to it, a little more color, a little more magic. And sometimes how I do that is I use these filters options we have. We have the gradient filter, we have the radial filter and of course the brush filter. For this photo, I am going to be using the gradient filter. And with my gradient filter, you have these options on the right hand side where it's kind of like the original on the basic tabs, but this will only affect the gradients. So I'm going to drag that across. So anything within this gradient, I'll turn so you can see where it is. So anything within that gets affected. So if I up the saturation and I turn that off, it's going to really make this up the colors, and it will just eventually slowly grade off. But I don't want to do that. I want to use one of my custom presets I've done. So I'm going to go over here and use my sunset sky preset. So what that does, it just adds a little orange, a little dehaze, and a little bit color, but I don't really want to color the image. I think that I did that in the original too. So we now have kind of like a sunset sky on the left hand side. Next, I want to add the opposite. So I have sunset opposite, so it kind of makes the other side the more darker magenta colors. So I'm going to add that across, but at the moment it's a little too powerful. So I'm going to go over here into this little tab option, and I'm probably going to lower the amount. Oh, that was not updating. Okay, and the last thing I did on this photo was I also added color to the water. So I'm going to go back, and I did my sunset sky, and I just added it to the water. So what that did, it helped bring a little more color to the water. It helped show off that it was a little more sunset. It helps show off the sunset a little more. So on the water, let's add a little contrast. Let's lower the blacks, add a little texture, and a little clarity. And that really helps makes the water pop and be, I don't know, say more engaging in the photo. So let's see what the original looked like. The one I did originally and the one I did right now for this video. They're pretty close. It's always hard to recreate something I did prior, because as with every piece of art, they're very unique and no piece is the same. But I think I got pretty close to my first one I did. I do think the pier is a little brighter in this one. Yeah, the pier is a little darker in this one I did for the video. But let's click the clip. So there you have it. A walkthrough how I did this photo.